Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so in the last episode we had dealt with the memory blocks, basically adding new blocks. Sorry, I was just looking at code through this function, right? One thing we didn't deal with is the linked list part of that, and that was entirely on purpose. Now, do we need a linked list for the memory blocks? Yeah, unfortunately we kind of do, because there will be instances where we need to scan through all the pointers in a particular block, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because a linear scan is generally, if you know big O notation, is generally an O to the n function, which is not great. It's not as good as like log n, but it's better than n squared, right? Yeah, unless you've got them sorted somehow, like with a bubble sort or something like that, there's no way to, if you have to go through every single item in a list, that's an O to the n kind of thing. Now in the memory pool classes, we have the same kind of scanning thing, but n in that case is very small, so I wasn't too worried about it. In the memory block classes, n can get to be kind of large. You know, that can get to be significant, but I mean, there's really no way around it. There are times when we're going to have to scan through some portion of the list. It's just the way it is. Unless I can figure out some other way to do it, which we could do, but for right now I'm going to leave it as a linked list. I mean, there's other ways to handle it. We could set up a messenger class and send a message to all the pointers, and then the pointers just have to check themselves to see if they're affected by the message. That's one way to handle it, and maybe we'll do that in the future. It's a potential possibility if this gets to be a bottleneck, but I don't want to start optimizing prematurely, so we'll go with it the way it is. Okay, now what we're going to do is basically the exact same thing we did under the memory pool class in terms of the linked list, of how they're linked together, what happens when you add a link, and what happens when you delete. In fact, it's so exactly the same that we could just copy the code over from the memory pool class, or I guess it's in memory manager, and drop it into memory pool to handle the blocks, if that makes sense. I think that's how that works. However, we run into a little bit of an issue if we do that, and we could do that. I mean, there's nothing preventing us from doing exactly that. We just copy the code over, we change it from pools to blocks, and we're done. But we have unfortunately repeated ourselves if we do that. And what's one of our rules is don't repeat yourself. Try. Okay, so I did go back and forth a couple times on how to do this, because there was a part of me that just wanted to copy the code over, because that's really the easiest way to do it. It's you know, the very simplest way to handle that. But the part of me that adheres to dry kind of won out on this one. So we're going to, instead of copying this code over, and let's take a look at the code that we're talking about here. I believe it's in memory helper class. Add new pool. So this is the actual addition. This is where we update the linked list. Update the memory manager and memory pool pointers. Yeah. Is that what we're doing there? Does memory manager class have any pointers? Yeah, it's got first pool and last pool. Okay, yeah, that's true. Okay. So this is the code right here that handles the linked list part of this, and it's exactly the same code we want to use in memory block class. So we already have our memory helper class, which is designed to take code that's kind of identical to memory block and memory pool and memory manager and put it in one place. And in fact, guys, I'm going to take these two guys, which are kind of sitting out here in the middle of nowhere, and drop them into memory manager. That's where they belong. We've got them in here. So let's pull them open. And I'll make sure that they're together. Okay, in order to do this, I'm going to use templates. Now, templates are probably amongst the more advanced C++ concepts, but don't let it frighten you. basically, guys, templates are just a way to abstract some code that you otherwise wouldn't be able to abstract. That's all it is. So it allows you to pull some code out and put it into a function where you otherwise might not be able to. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So, I mean, I've read a lot of code over the years. It was at one point my primary job to do that, and it's not so much anymore, but I still read a lot of code. As far as templates go, I've probably never seen any other system abused as much as templates are, and I don't know why. But really, all it is, like I say, is a way to abstract a piece of code that you otherwise couldn't. Now, there's a downside to templates, and the downside is you have to define templates in the header files. They have to be declared and defined in the same file. You can't do like what we do here, which kind of that's kind of the reason why I try to avoid templates as much as possible, because for me, the header file, one of the entire purposes of a header file is for me to be able to look at a piece of code, or I can look at a header, right, and know pretty much exactly what this class does. I don't have to go looking in Memory Manager class through all of this code. If the person has written a piece of code and they've got decent function names and they've got decent parameter names, I can pretty much tell what this does without ever having to go look at code, right? And that comes from having nice, clean header files, okay, without a bunch of junk in here. Unfortunately, templates break that rule, right? You have to put the code into the header file. So for that reason, I try to stay away from templates as much as possible. But sometimes they're necessary. Sometimes, they're a tool, and every tool has a good place or has a use, right? And this is one place where they have use. So let's get going on the code. I've talked a lot for, several minutes now, and we haven't coded anything yet. I'm going to try to come at this organically, and I'll show you the process that led us to the templates. So again, the idea here is to take this piece of code and abstract it to be able to be used by both the memory pool class and the memory block class. So I'm going to copy this code right here, and we're going to drop it into memory helper class. And let's see, what did I call this? Let me look at my scrap code for just a second, guys. I just want to make sure I'm consistent with the naming. Yeah, okay. So in here, again, this is not going to stay this way, but I want to show you kind of the process. So we're going to do a linked list add. Oops, my caps lock went on. And we'll just leave it at that for right now. And for some reason, this didn't do what I wanted. So we'll copy that, drop it in here. And I just copied something, so I lost the code that I was trying to bring over, didn't I? That's all right. So we'll do all the usual kind of stuff that we would normally do. And this is in Memory Manager, so we'll copy that, and we'll bring it over here. Okay. So this is the code we want to abstract. And we want it to be able to be used by both Memory Manager and Memory Pool in order for Memory Manager to do the pools and for Memory Pools to do the blocks. That's how that's going to work. Okay. So first of all, we've got a lot of words that say pool in here. I'm going to take all those words and change them to node, I think. So I think it's control. Darn it. There we go. Okay, in the selection, I'm going to change this to replace. I'm going to change pool to node in the selection, and let's do that. It's only doing whole words. Don't match the whole word. And replace all. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I've taken out the word pool and just replaced it with node. That's basically all we've done here. So we've got a few errors. So how do we fix that? Okay, so what are we doing here? First of all, we've got previous last pool, which is a currently a local variable. So let's drop that in. We can do that like such. Except I want to change it to node, not pool. Now you're going to notice a problem here. We're using memory pool class, and that's not going to work for memory when we want to do memory blocks, but we'll leave that alone for right at the moment. Okay. Last node, first node, and new node. Let's put all those in. And again, we'll put them in as a memory pool class. So, in fact, they are now going to be parameters, so I got to put them in properly. Memory pool class, first node, and memory pool class, last node. Okay, so we got to fix that. First node, last node, last node. No, I didn't want last node here. I wanted new node. That's what that was supposed to be. Okay, there you go. So this would work if I put in, for example, memory manager class, I believe it is, or memory pool class, like such. That should clean up those errors, I would think. Why is it not cleaning up those errors? It should clean up those errors, but I don't. It's not for some reason. Because we're not in the namespace. Is that true? We are not in the namespace. Wow. Really? That's just bizarre. Okay, let's fix that. Huh. Yeah, we really aren't. Okay. Namespace, game engine. Stop putting in that extra thing. I just got finished taking it out. Cut it out. Okay, let's refactor this. There we go. That should fix that. Yes. There we go. Okay. Then the other thing we would have to do is to take all these, copy them into here, and if I'm not mistaken, that should clean up all the errors. And it's not. Oh yeah. Yes, we would have to make these would have to be pointers, wouldn't they? Sorry. Right. Spending an awful lot of time fixing code that I'm actually not going to keep. Okay, there you go. That works, except for the function calls. All right. So yeah, there you go, guys. Now, couple of problems with this. Like I said, we're passing in memory pool class items, but that's not going to work for memory block when we want to do the memory blocks, right? So we really haven't abstracted this as much as we need to. And also, new node, which is a member of memory pool class, is calling functions, right? So is previous last node is also calling functions within the class. So because of that, it's not like we can even cast these into voids. Like if I try to do void here, it's not going to work, right? Because we can't call functions that are set to void. It's saying right here, expression must have a pointer to class type, right? So that's not going to work. So how do we fix this then? Well, this is the sort of thing that templates were, in fact, exactly designed for. So we've got a specific class here that we want to get rid of. So to do that, what we're going to do is change this to a template, class T, and then instead of using the memory pool class, we can use the T, and also use it here. Okay. Now look at that, all of our errors just went away. And so you might think you can do the same thing here. Let's see, template class T. We'll put in the T, and the T, right? Okay, there's no errors here. There's no errors here. Now what does this mean? This means that if I call this function with some list of parameters, it's going to substitute in whatever the type of that parameter is for this T. So if I call it with a memory pool class set of parameters, it'll substitute in everywhere where there's a T, it'll just substitute in memory pool class, just like we had before. If I call it with the memory block class set of parameters, it'll substitute those in, right? So that's exactly what we want. There's going to be no errors, except for probably linker errors. Oh, there's no error. Actually, there's no errors because we're never calling this. That's the next thing we would need to do. So, okay, let's go ahead and I don't know why I keep doing that. Actually, I do know why I keep doing that, because my keyboard at work is a different configuration than this one, and the insert key and the home key are swapped, and so I keep mixing them up. Okay, I'm going to turn this off, and instead of calling this, we're going to say, what do I want to say here? Memory helper. No, I don't need to do that. All we have to do is call this function, linked list add. So the new node, which is going to be new pool, comma, the first node, which is going to be first pool, and the last node is going to be last pool. There you go. Now if I compile this, it's probably going to give me errors. Yeah. Well, it's going to give me this because I'm not actually using that anymore. Here we go, the linker errors. Unresolved external. So this is what I was talking about before, guys. So we cannot do what we're trying to do here. I wish we could. The reason for this is it's really just a mechanical thing. The compiler can't resolve this until you go to runtime, apparently, or something like that. Anyway, it's a mechanical thing, and the specifics are beyond my ability to care. What it comes down to is you cannot divide up templates like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this code, right here, take it out, and just drop it in here, like such. Okay, and then we can remove this. We don't need this anymore. Now, that should work with any luck. What did I do wrong? No, you should work now. Stop it. All right. Okay, guys. Yeah, so there you go. Now we're getting some errors. Set prior nodes, set next node is not a member of memory pool class. Right, we got to fix that. All I want to do there, memory pool class. Instead of using get prior pool and get next pool, prior node. We'll generalize these. And then in the memory pool class, node, 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 and node. There you go. That should, if I'm not mistaken, compile. Oh, for God's sakes. Tell you what, let's rename this. Oh, crap. Okay. I gotta change get prior pool to get prior node. Node, replace all, and then get next pool with get next node. Okay, let's see how that works. For crying out loud. All right, how are we doing there? Yay, that worked. Okay. Okay, if we run that, oh, I expect this is not going to work. Yeah, it didn't. You can see first pool and last pool are not being updated like they're supposed to be. And why is that? Because in normal C++ fashion, you can't change something in a function unless you pass it as a reference. So let's do that. Let's see, is that going to work? Yeah, we don't want that as a, that might be why. Okay, there it went. I don't know, guys. Sometimes when you're dealing with templates, the compiler gets confused, and it wasn't rebuilding this with the change that I wanted. Okay, so there you go. We pass them in by reference so that we can modify them in the subroutine. That's what the deal is. Yeah, and it appears to be working just fine. So yeah, just like we were working before. Okay, let's get rid of this code. We don't need it anymore. So look at that, we made this shorter. Okay, now let's see what happens if we do that in the memory pool class for blocks. So let me make sure that I've got this in the right place. So yeah, if we go to memory pool class, there's a place where we say add block, and that's here. Okay. So I'm going to say update the memory pool and memory block pointers. So we'll say linked list add. And we're going to send in, let's see, the new block. That's the first one. The first node, which is going to be memory pool class. No. Let's see. Yeah, we actually have to add this in, don't we? Memory block class, first block. I swear I put in a semicolon. Memory block class, last block. Let's make sure those are set right. First block equals null pointer. Last block equals null pointer. There we go. And then we can pass those in. So let's see. This one's first, probably first block, huh? First block, comma, last block. There you go. Now, will that work? No, it's not. We haven't got the set nodes in yet, so we got to do that. So in the memory block class, which is not up here, we got to put in the following functions. So yeah, it's looking for, the reason it's erroring, guys, is it's looking for these functions: set prior node, set next node. And since T is now, in this case, memory block, it needs to have it in the memory block class, and they're not here. That's why it's having problems. So we can set those in real fast. That's easy enough. Memory block class, get prior, oops, should be associated with that, not the other way around. Get prior node, void set prior node, memory block class, prior block. And these are just get and set functions. In C# we wouldn't even have to do this, but we could use the built-in get next node, set next node. Okay, I'm going to grab all those, and we're going to go to memory block class, and we're going to drop them in. And these are super simple functions. such. Make them part of the class. Like such. Right there. Okay. Return prior block. Prior block equals prior block. No, 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 no. Return next block, and next block equals next block. Like such. Capitalize that, and I shouldn't have. Okay. That should do it. We compile that. Everything compiles fine. It should run just fine. There you go, guys. Now, we don't have any testing things in here yet, but what we've just done, basically, just with those simple additions, is we've pretty much handled the memory block class for adding blocks, and the linked list is all set up. We don't have to do anything else besides what we've just done. Okay, so very good. Let's see, what do I want to do here? Let's do the same thing for linked list delete. And we don't need to go through the same thing. We know this is going to be the same kind of deal. We don't need to go through, you know, the organic process that I went through before to come up with our template. We can just make it. So in this case, well, here, tell you what. Let's start off by copying the code that we need over. So it's going to be in the memory manager class, remember, and it's going to be under delete pool, and there's going to be a spot where we deal with these guys, and it's all this stuff right here, I believe. Let me just double check on this, but it should be right. Yeah, so I'm going to leave these while functions and if function in there, and I'm just going to take this part of it, copy that, because this actually goes along with all this stuff, and we need it for actually deleting the pool, and that's specific to the pool stuff. We don't want to abstract that out. So we'll drop that in there. And again, I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to replace any instance of the word pool with node. That should be fine. Thank you. Okay. So what do we need in the template function to do this? Basically, we need T, a reference to the dying node, T, a reference to the first node. Oops, got a pointer in there. Shoot, that should be a small first node. and a T, a reference to the last node. Do we need the last node? Yes, we do. Okay. Fix all that. Make sure that's all set properly. Do we miss any? I don't think we missed any. Okay. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and compile it. Should be good. Okay, in the memory pool, the memory manager class, which is where? Right here. I'm going to change this to linked list, delete. And we need the dying node. In this case, it's called dying pool. We need the first node, which is going to be first pool. And the last node, which of course is going to be called last pool. That's all there is to that. We can delete all this. I believe that should run. And it should do exactly the same thing as before. And it looks like it's fine. It's like deleting is working. We come down to the end. There's no more pools left. Yep, looks good. Okay, now guys, for memory block, which is actually done in memory pool. I keep forgetting that. We didn't actually do anything in delete block yet. So let's set that up. I mean, there's more to this than this one little piece. That we're not going to be done with delete quite yet. But this is a big chunk of it. This at least handles the linked list part of it. Delete. New block, right. Just a second. Let me see what I did in my other code just to make sure we get the same. Oh, I didn't handle it. Okay. All right, this is where I go off script and we just. All right. Right, guys. You know what? No, I'm going to stop here. We're not going to quite handle delete yet because there's more to this than what I'm doing. And in order to put it in, I actually have to go through some of the process. So I'm not going to try to do it on the fly. It should be fairly simple, but I don't want to try to wing it. And I haven't coded it yet, so let's hold off on that for right now. So the add block is working, but the delete block is not. But that's okay. For pools, anyway. Okay, guys. That's about it. That's all I really wanted to do. So we did muck up our H file a little bit with these templates. Yeah, you know, what are you going to do? Let's see here. I don't like this. This pointers to include new node. Update links to remove node. I like that better. All right, very good. So as you can see, we have absolutely no new functionality, except kind of behind the scenes, we did add linked lists to the new nodes, the new memory block nodes. We haven't really tested it yet, but we'll get to that. This episode's getting long enough. Okay, guys, very good. That's what I wanted to get done today. So we're in good shape. We got a good chunk of the memory blocks finished off. Next episode, we will do the delete part. It should be fairly trivial at this point, to be honest. Should hardly be anything to it. So yeah. Okay, we will stop here. Let me take a second to thank my patrons. My $5 plus patron is Michael Hilliard. My $3 plus patrons are listed in the description below, along with any links that they've requested that I link to. So please do go check those out. Good stuff in there. And then finally, at the very end of this episode, you'll see a list of all my $1 plus patrons. Thank you very much, guys. It is much appreciated. Without your support, this would certainly be a much more difficult endeavor. So I really do thank you. All right, gang, we will stop here and we will pick this back up in the next episode. So I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please take a second to comment, like, and subscribe. All these things really help me out. I'd like to say a big thanks to all my patrons whose names are appearing on the screen right now. Thanks a lot, guys. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more great content, consider joining my list of patrons. There's a link on the screen in the bottom left corner. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.